and situated. And I'll pull this back up on screen um, for y'all as well. So I'm currently in shorts on gold in real time. This is a position that I'm looking to play down for news. So up to you guys. This is a higher risk position because it's coming out before, it's a position we're taking before news releases. But I like this area personally. It's a higher time frame point of interest. If you want to wait for a smaller time frame inversion before taking your trade, you can totally do that. But I am currently in shorts on gold. Basically, going into the pre-New York session around 7 a.m., we ended up seeing a nice sweep on vast majority of London session highs, followed by, a nice little market structure shift to the downside. So the way I'm looking at this is like retracement to mitigate and go lower with news to then target, these lows. That's basically what I'm looking for. And ultimately, I would like to favor buys. Buys are more favorable than sells on gold at the moment. This is what I'm personally going to be looking for after news releases and not with a limit, but actually looking for that inversion on the smaller time frames. So that's what I'm personally looking for. I'm already in sells right now on gold. Like this triggered while we were just waiting and jamming out to Chris Luno together. Okay. So yeah, if you're looking for a trade, obviously, this is one you can consider. It's not financial advice by any means, but I like this setup. We're trading inside this 15-minute, point of interest and, fair value gap order block. There's a lot of, confluence, basically just the stars aligning and different points of interest from here. So I'm liking sells. In terms of the exact entry parameters, this is from like 44.71, stop loss 44.80. Main exit that I'm looking for is this final low at around 44.44 or 44.45. All right, so it's like a 300 pip move, just shy of a 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be looking for. If you wanted to be patient and wait for an inversion, we might get one. We might have just got one right now. We'll see if the inverse fair value gap indicator is giving that entry and risk to reward, which it is on the 1 minute. If you're waiting for a 3 minute, probably gonna have to wait a little bit longer. We'd have to see an inversion of this particular area here. And if you're on the session and you're seeing this for the first time, welcome to the inverse fair value gap indicator that I put out. This is now accessible inside of Primeverse under this section right here. Okay, IFVG indicator. It's currently in the beta um, stage. All right, so we're getting a whole bunch of people inside of Primeverse, beta testing this. If you're on this session and you're not a part of Primeverse, we would love to have you inside of Primeverse first and foremost. And secondly, you're welcome to beta test this absolutely free inside of our free Primeverse community. So yeah, you can apply for access in here. It's very straightforward. It's going to take you through the form. And then what we do is we manually give you access because it is an invite only indicator on TradingView. And the way that the indicator works is very, very simple. All right, very simple. This indicator is identifying fair value gaps, providing entry and exit parameters upon inversions. All right, stop loss is going to be based on previous swing highs or lows. TP is set in accordance to risk reward ratios. So as you can see, we just had an inversion here on the 1 minute. Okay. And yeah, entry is going to be at candle closure through the fair value gap. Take profit one being a 1-to-1 risk reward. Take profit two being a 1-to-2 risk reward. You can change that in the settings. So if you want to, mess around with the risk reward ratios, you're welcome to. But we did get the smaller time frame confirmation for this particular area that I was looking for shorts from based on the higher time frame point of interest. Okay, so this is looking pretty good for gold sells to start the day. We'll see what happens. Maybe it flies and smacks stop loss at news release. So it is a higher risk trade because we're not, taking it after news releases. We're taking it before news releases. And in my experience of, almost it's literally going to be 8 years in April, which is insane. In almost 8 years of trading, my experience with trading news has always been, my preference at least has always been to wait until the news releases to then take trades for higher quality, higher probability. And so I'm personally okay with taking the sells here because I think this is just a no-brainer for what news is going to do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we go higher with news, but I personally feel that these lows are just too easy. And we'll see what happens, man. Maybe we fly with news. Maybe we go higher. So it is a bit of a higher risk position. Any sort of position you're taking on an NFP day, by the way, you should be more conservative with your risk. All right. Um, and the last thing that you want to experience is, you've had a great trading week. It's Friday, and then you give back all your profit to the market, right? That's like, what was the point of having a good trading week if you're going to do that today? That's not the point, right? So trade responsibly, guys. All right. Obviously, these sessions are for educational and informational purposes. We don't, do financial advice on these sessions whatsoever. So I could be totally wrong, and we all take L's together today. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, we're usually pretty consistent with news trading though. So we'll see what we can get today. Where's this live streams? So obviously on Zoom, and then situated. We've got this is up on wow, look at that facial expression. Terrible freeze frame. But yeah, this is live on YouTube now as well. So if anybody is not able to tune in on Zoom, I'll drop the YouTube link. If somebody can actually drop this in Primers, that'd be great. And any other group chats, the Revolt group chats for those of you guys that are part of the Revolt community, that would be great. And then yeah, in terms of the chart markup, it's exactly what we have on screen, right? The entry parameters for the cells was from here. This is like cells right here, the parameters. This is already active. All right, this is active from like before we actually officially started the session. I'm really liking smaller time frame price action right now for this to continue playing out. But entry from 44.71, SL was 44.80, and then main TP. You can obviously partial before these, this full TP, but my main TP is going to be 44.45. All right, for just shy of a 1 to 3. It's like 1 to 2.7 R. Um, And if you're using the fair value gap inversion indicator, maybe you have slightly tighter parameters and therefore greater risk to reward, you know? Because if you're taking this sell off like the 1 minute inversion, right, definitely tighter parameters. This is more likely to get hit out than the 15-minute, you know, points of interest that we've shared. But notice how even the fair value gap indicator, inversion indicator is giving entries on the 15-minute time frame, right? We had a very subtle inversion right here on the 15-minute. As soon as that candle closed and gave the inversion entry, stop loss, and then TPs are lower. And you can see that that 1 to 2 is just below this final area where I'm looking to take profit just in terms of liquidity on Goldilocks. So, the stars are aligning there too with the indicator. But but yeah, man. And then the parameters for buys. I'm not actually using this risk reward ratio for my entry parameters. I will be using specifically an inverse fair value gap down here. So we're just going to be patient, wait till news releases, and we'll, justify the entry and have parameters for the buys later on. But shout out to anybody that's in sells because we're currently floating about 50 pips in profit. We got about 15 minutes until news releases, so we'll see how things go. Okay, where y'all tuning in from? Drop in the chat. I totally forgot to show y'all out. My apologies. Let me see where y'all are tapped in from today. YouTube chat, I do not have pulled up, but shout out to the YouTube viewers. You should have been early on Zoom. I'm just trolling. You're here. That's the bottom line. We got Germany in the house. We got, let's see, Turkey, Istanbul. Let's go. We got Australia, Cayman Islands, St. Louis, Hungary, Moncton, New Brunswick, Scotland, Dublin, Ireland, Sweden, British Columbia, Philippines, London, baby. Let's go. Dubai in the house. Um, My TP for the cells is this price level, 44.45. What's good, Walker? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Uh, Scotland, we already shut it out. Estonia, Cochrane, Alberta, Nigeria, Tilbury, Ontario. We got, let's see, Sri Lanka in the building. Let's go. One of my first trading mentors is from Sri Lanka. He's Sri Lankan. Shout out to Slaying Pips one time. Toronto, baby, let's go. What's good, Nixon? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Sweden, Bulgaria, LA. What's good, Randy? Good to see you, my guy. Yo, I know it's early for y'all in the Pacific time zone. Y'all are like, it's 5 a.m. over there. I pray we catch some pips together and you can justify that 5 a.m. wake up time. Because I'm gonna be honest, anytime I've been in the BC or Pacific time zone, it's always been a struggle waking up early for any sort of live sessions. I'm gonna be honest. So, but we make it work. Cool. Czech Republic. I'm like looking for new places. Rwanda. How can we have access? Are you talking about to Primeverse or are you talking about for the indicator? Which I mean, both basically are hand in hand. Yeah, if you respond to my Instagram story, right? Because I did a Instagram story. Um, if you just respond to this story indicator, then you can get walked through how to access the beta. Woke up at 4:30, always a struggle. Hey, you gotta show up though, right? Show up to go up. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of NFP, how many of y'all is this like your first time ever trading NFP live? Is this like anybody's first time? I'm genuinely curious. All right, I gotta make sure there's fewer blown accounts today than there should be if we weren't doing this session. Okay. Because I'm gonna be honest, if you're trading news for the very first time today, this can be um, a very exciting, profitable day for you. It can also be a very traumatic, awful, terrible day for you. All right, that is news. Right, Primeverse is our own community. That's our community, right? It's not my community, but it's our community for the person asking in the chat. But if you're new to trading news, you have to be very mindful of how to approach the markets when you have this many red folders releasing all at the same time at 8:30. All right, this is probably like the most hyped, and not overhyped, like actually justified the amount of hype behind the release news event that there ever is in the market, other than maybe interest rates. But even that I find is not as consistent as NFP personally. You know, in my own experience, I've had profitability trading both, consistent profitability trading both, but it wasn't always that way. Okay. Like when I first started trading and was learning about this whole idea of trading news, I blew accounts like consistently. If there was anything I was consistent at, it was that. All right. Probably, oh my gosh, man, I've lost track of how many accounts I've blown over the almost 8 years of doing this. And I'm not ashamed to say that. All right. I mean, shit. I haven't blown an account this year, but I blew an account last year, right? I actually blew like two accounts last year. And some people are like, what? That's insane. You know, obviously it's not a regular thing anymore, but you might have a bit of a higher risk account where you're a little bit more balls to the wall and you get crazy with risk and you blow an account. It happened to me twice last year, you know? But I say that because news is something you don't want to treat lightly. News is something that you need to understand will absolutely destroy you as a trader if you take it for granted and you don't use proper risk, period. All right, period. Like the most blown accounts happen on news trading days. And most people suck at trading news and don't understand that, hey, if you actually want to be consistently profitable trading news, usually you want to wait until the news releases to then react and respond and find setups and opportunities. So that's why I'm saying even this sell is like higher risk because it's before the release. But personally, I'm okay taking the risk for my own, trading. I do like the buys more as well. But yeah, generally speaking, when you have both Canadian dollar and US dollar releasing their unemployment rates and employment change, you will see false spikes in one direction, followed by pretty aggressive reversals. Not every single NFP release, but pretty consistently you will see that. And so what I would be looking for today is ideally I'd like to see a run on these lows on gold. So whether that's, we get a false spike higher and then trade to take the lows, or the false spike is us trading lower to take the lows to then flip and continue bullishly. Those are really the two scenarios that I'm looking for on gold today. The reason that we're taking sells prior to news is because of the fact that we just saw these highs swept going into around 7 a.m. Eastern time, right? We saw this kind of market structure shift. There's the order block and fair value gap left behind. Returning to that area, we could continue to see this sell off and look to target these lows, right? I could be totally wrong. Maybe this smacks SL, right? It's totally a possibility. But personally, I'm comfortable taking that risk and like the setup. So we'll see what happens. But the buys are really what I'm favoring even more today for NFP is looking for buys, looking for price to, trade to take out these lows and then look for longs after the liquidity has been captured. And so that's literally my trading style is like I'll wait for one side of the market to capture liquidity, right? One side of the market's liquidity to be captured, to then look for an opportunity to take a position targeting the other side of liquidity. And so even with this particular setup for the sells, it's basically the same concept, right? We just took out pretty much all the London session highs. We sold off. We took out a few lows. Okay. Maybe we flip from here and go bullishly because we captured lows as well. That's possible. But to me, I'd be looking at this more of like a market structure shift for us to then retrace and continue lower, targeting what's left behind as lows. Right? There's quite a few. Okay. Ultimately, I want to see if we can retest this accumulation from yesterday, which was pretty beautiful. And we actually had buys from down in this area. If you're inside of Prime Burst, you probably caught those buys. Um, but uh, but yeah, so that's personally what I'm looking for on gold. Not really going to be looking at anything else today. We could entertain opportunities on some currency pairs, but I'm just not really interested, to be honest with you guys. I think for USD CAD, we could maybe after news releases trade to take these lows and look for potential buys from down here. Right? That's like the only, you know, currency pair setup that I'm actually leaning towards potentially taking, right? Something along these lines. But we've been pretty bullish all week on USD CAD. I think it's probably more likely for us to false spike higher with USD CAD. So false spike higher to then, sell off is kind of what I would be anticipating. We'll see what happens. But in terms of liquidity or where we're trading on the higher time frame perspective, we're, inside and about to be trading higher into this fair value gap on the daily. So looking to see this continue to get traded into and filled. Euro USD, what I'm looking for is a run on this low on the daily time frame. Um, that's what I'm looking for today on USD or Euro USD, I should say. DXY, same thing inversely, right? Because these things are, Euro USD and DXY are basically the same as one another, just flipped around, right? Opposites, the inverse or the inverse of one another. So Euro being bearish, DXY being bullish at the same time. And what I'd like to see is a run on this high. So yeah, and then for gold's daily time frame perspective, we're looking super good to continue to new all-time highs. And all I'm wanting to see is, just basically a run on some internal liquidity for, continuation buys. That's basically what I'm looking for. But yeah, daily time frame perspective, we're looking good to go into price discovery. Potentially, I mean, potentially today. I don't know if today is going to be the day we see price discovery. I think it'll probably be more like next week or the week after. Probably next week, to be honest, for us to trade back above 45.50. But pretty textbook setup for what price did on Thursday. How many of you guys were here on Wednesday inside of Primeverse? Because we talked about this getting traded deeper into. We took buys on Wednesday together, caught a nice little trade using the fair value gap indicator. It was like a 1 to 2 risk to reward, beautiful setup. And then us trading deeper into this fair value gap was pretty textbook. And we traded into that other point of interest that was shared on Wednesday, which was you know this order block. All right, sweeping these lows. That was Wednesday's trade was from here to here, and then we had a pretty nice accumulation of retracement to this order block, filled that on Thursday. So there's always, this is the thing with trading, especially with gold, there's always going to be, more opportunities, right? If you feel like you missed the move, or if you feel like you're being left behind by price action, there's always opportunities. You know what I mean? There's always opportunities. But yeah, so we got 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes until news releases. We'll see what happens with this particular short. We had a nice little reaction initially. I don't love price action right now, to tell you the truth. It's not favorable. It's not what I would want to see. But personally, gonna, hold this. We'll see if it plays out. We'll see if it doesn't. If you feel uncomfortable based on price action before 8:30 and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to hold the sells, this is the higher risk position of the outlook today. So there's nothing wrong with you closing beforehand. It's just you got to manage the trade in accordance with, your number one, your risk tolerance, and number two, you know, how you're feeling, right? That's an important thing to consider. And usually your intuition is pretty on point, right? Um, Not always, but usually you can be pretty intuitive and just focus on what your gut is telling you and how you're managing trades, and you can go off of that a little bit and justify with logic, of course, too. But my thought process before news, the reason I'm holding this, do I love price action? No. Would I prefer being up 100, 200 pips in profit before news releases? For sure, obviously. But the thought process here for me is we traded down to like 63, 62. So at that point, it was like almost a 90 pip move. Um, you know, we're creating these lows. So anybody that's buying, like where are their stop losses being placed, right? Smaller time frame perspective beneath these lows. If they're basing it off a higher time frame perspective, we're looking probably at these lows. And so the idea of taking sells is to target those areas of liquidity where buyers have stop losses. If we see news release and we trade higher first, I may consider taking sells after this gets invalidated. It's just going to be based on price action. But yeah, we've got the release in about 5 seconds for NFP, so we'll see what ends up being the move. So let's see, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what the actual release was as well. Bearish release initially. Okay, so we're seeing false spike lower on golds. I'd like to see some follow through here to so we did take these two short-term lows. All right, I'd like to see some follow through. What I mean by that is not just a false spike and then flip, which could very well be the case based on what we're currently seeing, right? But I'd like to see some follow through. I'd like to see a run on specifically, these lows. This is like the new day low from like 12:10 a.m. Eastern. We got this low from what time was this at? I guess Asian session Wednesday. And then this was afternoon session low from New York. So full spike was definitely in the right direction, but I was wanting to see definitely more follow through than what we're currently getting. Pretty quick flip. We could very well take that high at 44.80 based on what we're seeing. Yeah, look at that. Pretty mean false spike lower. And if this ends up getting invalidated, it's all good. Right? That's why I use proper risk management. But so far just doing its thing. I'm wanting to see follow through here. Even if potentially, call me crazy, false spike lower captures 44.80 high and then dumps to take out the rest of these lows, that's on the table. Right? The low that was just created. We got these, other higher time frame lows. That's a possible scenario too if we do take out 44.80. So yeah, not this is looking like we will probably hit invalidation for the shorts. Yeah. So you probably got hit out. Yeah, there we go. That's officially invalid. So depending on how you manage the setup, if you went break even after, the spike, you definitely reduced some of your risk, took some of the risk off the table. But if you were patient, you didn't take sells, obviously you're saving yourself some capital there. I personally took a L on this. It's all good. I'm not stressing, use proper risk. That's why risk management is so important. But I still like the overall general bias of seeing gold trade lower is still favorable for me, right? The overall general bias of us trading down to this area for potential buys is still what I'd like to see. So the way I'd be looking at this now is, are we just capturing these highs to then attack the lows, right? Or was that just enough of a liquidity capture for us to then just send gold to the moon, which is also a possibility, right? So we'll see what's good. We'll see what's good. 1 minute time frame. This was a ugly, mean sweep of these lows. Any buyers with stop losses beneath those lows probably got pretty cheesed. Getting hit out and then seeing price fly after. And then, I mean, higher time frame, what do we have to really go off of here for potential shorts? Let's see. It's not really much. It's not really much. I mean, you got little 15-minute order block around 44.90. I wouldn't personally love sells based off that. Um, I do like what we're seeing on the 15 minute. I do like this. How we're sweeping these two highs. We could potentially look for sells to target lows, which are left intact presently. So it's just going to be a matter of justifying a position based on an inversion. Really, that's what I would be looking for. You know, but yeah, we could. I mean, that very well could be the only bearish movement we get all day with golds with that false spike. Man, I was hoping we could get a little bit lower than what we did, but it's all good. It happens. Sometimes we don't get as much of a move, and you would have had to be pretty quick too to like move break even after that initial release. Because what was that, like 15 seconds and then flip? Yeah, 15 second and then and then flip. Um, yeah, I'm sure most of you guys probably just hit the SL like I did. But if anybody made some money, good stuff. We love to see it. We're happy for you. But me, that was not me on that sell. That was not me today. -1R. But let's see. Let me see here. Okay, cool. Let me check out the chat real quick. Break even, little loss. Took my money and ran. Nice. Good stuff. There we go. Shannon's managing trades effectively. Might have to get you to manage my trade next time, Shannon. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Very sus for the banks not to take the lows. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying like this could, we had full spike to go higher. We're seeing a liquidity capture on, the highs, right? Like if we were to get an inversion, of this 1 minute, I might take sells again, maybe. It's going to be dependent on what I'm feeling in an overall price action, but yeah, like these lows are just this is like to me just this is too juicy. There's too many buyers that are in this move right now, which is why I'm still kind of like, yo, we could easily, even based on the price action we're seeing so far, we could easily like flip and take these lows. But again, as I was mentioning, even before NFP release, like the sells were higher risk, right? We're in a bullish environment overall. Yeah, the price action justified the entry for me, but I understood that it was still a counter trend trade and overall higher risk than you know, taking buys. You know what I mean? So hopefully I think I did a pretty clear an effective job communicating that to you guys. So I don't think anybody should be like, and I was very clear on risk management. So I'll be so honest. If you blew an account off that sell that I gave, I have zero empathy for you. I have empathy for you, but I'm not like sorry for you. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how much clearer can I get? It's a higher risk position. It's before news. Like, you know what I mean? So I just pray you guys use proper risk management. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. But um, but yeah, let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. I'll be on this session for um I think I initially scheduled on the Zoom that we would go until like 11 a.m. and even trade like the New York session open at 9:30. I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow. If I'm not loving price action, we'll probably jump off earlier than that. Um, it's just gonna be based on what we see develop over the next little bit. But yeah, I mean, current bias, sweeping these highs, this is still on the table, right? This is still on the table. It's looking to be more um, unlikely based on price action. What's looking to be the case is, hey, this was enough of a sweep for price to just fly, you know? But yeah, like this is still 1 minute price action, still looking very, very bullish. Order flow is very bullish. So until we get like any sort of a flip or an inversion on a smaller time frame, there's not really any reason for us to take sells. So, maybe over the next 20 minutes or so, we see a shift in overall order flow, but I would say this is looking pretty, so far, still pretty strong on Goldilocks. We would be looking to take sells off this. It really just depends. Really just depends on price action. Like if we get, maybe we get above this high on the hourly at like 4,500, and then we see a melt off to like capture these lows at 4,450, 4,460. You know, it's a possible scenario, right? But we could very easily just fly from here too. Like maybe that false spike was all we needed for gold to just blast off. But um, but yeah, so far no signs of this really reversing. Thoughts on BTC? Um, I'll be so real. I think there's much less hope for the bull run to continue going beyond the end of January. Um, we maybe see like 100K. We maybe see, I think very unlikely now, but possible for us to continue in this bull run and see new all-time highs. I'm personally leaning more towards like the top is in and any sort of bullishness is just a retracement to continue lower, right? That's kind of my higher time frame thoughts on BTC. Smaller time frame perspective, we did just get a nice mitigation of this order block right here. I think for today's trading, I'm probably not going to look to trade BTC personally, but maybe you could look for a run on some of these like internal range highs, you know. Um, that's something to consider. But Yeah. For BTC, I don't love what we're seeing in terms of price action. To me, like even the 4 hour, this capture of liquidity, which was on Monday, is giving like redistribution vibes, which, you know, would mean that Bitcoin's likely to continue lower. Um, I don't know, maybe this turns into an accumulation and we go higher, but this for me right now, this feels like a redistribution to go lower. Right, capture of liquidity, no follow through whatsoever. This retracement, maybe we get a bounce and we continue higher. Right, it's a possibility, you know, but I think I'd be leaning more towards this thing just continuing to sell off low key for BTC. Yeah, Cohen, I'm down for that, bro. I'm down for that. So Cohen has his session inside of Prime Verse, ladies and gentlemen, at 9 a.m., which is in about 20 minutes. Um, so he just messaged me and invited us to collab on that session. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll stay on here until 9 and then we can jump on Cohen's session. Cohen can throw down and yeah, we'll collab. You know, we'll see if there's opportunities. Right, he can go over what he's looking at, and we can do a little collab from 9 a.m. onwards. That's in about 15 minutes. So yeah, we'll stay on here until then, and then we'll pivot. I like that. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. How do you get on this or on his Zoom call? So it'd be inside of primers. So if you go to the live session section, right, you're gonna see his name's right here, right? Cohen or his live sessions right here. So you would just go in here. You can RSVP as going, and then you should go to all Cohen sessions, to be honest. And he's going literally from 9 to 11. So that's perfect. That's literally perfect timing. Perfect timing. I didn't even take this in. This is perfect for us to collab, bro. Let's get it. And then yeah, basically you would just click on Zoom. You'll be taken to the other Zoom because it won't be on this link. It'll be on the one that's scheduled inside the Primeverse calendar. And then yeah, we'll continue catching some pips together there. Or continue doing the analysis of NFP or post NFP at the very least. Um, and yeah, honestly, I don't think there's going to be really opportunity for us to take shorts in the next 15 minutes on gold. We'll see, maybe. But let me walk you guys through a little bit more of a training on the indicator. So for for this indicator, right? The fair value gap inversion indicator, the IFVG kind of beta, version that's currently accessible inside of Primeverse. Um, my intention when I first made this indicator was just to have it for myself. Like I'll be so real. It was a selfish intention making the indicator initially. And I used basically a chat GPT but for Pine script tool and made this indicator in like 25 minutes. Really cool, by the way, and I'll share more on that in the future. I'm good friends with the founder of this particular platform. Met him. He actually randomly hit me up on Instagram. I never hit people back that hit me up on Instagram randomly, like saying, "Hey, let's jump on a call," or "Hey, would love your opinion on this," or let me make thumbnails for you, or this or that, or whatever. I never get back to people ever, right? Like it's just usually a waste of my time. So. Not for you guys, by the way. Like students hitting me up, totally different story. I'm talking about like cold DM, never followed this guy or heard of this guy in my life, doesn't follow any of my mutuals, hits me up. Like that kind of person, I'm always disregarding that person 9 times out of 10. It's like when you see the paragraph, you kind of already know. It's like, okay, here we go. Here we go, man. Here's the pitch. But for whatever reason, I didn't just block this message request. I opened it, read it, saw what he said and was like, yo, that sounds fire. Let's connect on a call. So we connected on a call. He's showing me how this whole you know, platform works, and probably $1 million opportunity that, with what he's doing and building with this. I told him, I was like, bro, if you lock in on this, you can easily scale this to like $1 million, you know, uh, uh, company in a relatively short period of time because I've never seen anything like it before. And it's literally ChatGPT, but for an indicator. Like you say, hey, this is what I want, and it'll do it for you in like minutes. You can integrate it on TradingView, and it's like pretty freaking solid. Like it's insane. And so um, yeah, so I started messing around with it. I was like, man, okay, this is what I've been trading mostly, is inverse fair value gaps on the smaller time frames. And I'm like, I wanted to, make an indicator for myself straight up. I was being totally selfish. I wasn't thinking about you guys at all until I made it and was like, okay, this is pretty fire. I got to share this with the squad. And very quickly it shifted from like, let me just use this for my own trading to like, let's bring this to all of Primeverse and share it to everybody for free. It's basically a scanner. It's a very simple scanner. You got to use your own discernment with the scanner, right? But give it to y'all for free inside the free community, man. While all these other companies are charging an arm and a leg for scanners, giving it to everybody for free inside of Primeverse. So, which I think is just going to continue to trump any sort of paid opportunity in the space. There's a reason that I made the decision to partner with Primeverse and do everything that I was charging for years. Now do everything for free. Everybody's like, why are you doing this? It's like the way the industry is going, it just makes sense. Okay. This is the direction that things are going in. Um, but yeah, I mean, Primeverse is coming out with some truly revolutionary industry disruptive things over the next little while. The indicator is not even close to the weight some of these other innovations are going to hold. For example, full automation for all trade ideas, which, by the way, let me show you guys this. Pause my screen share and pull this up real quick for y'all. Um, the the performance report so far to this, since launching this is on screen. Okay. The last 7 days that we've been using the signals telegram on within Primeverse, these are the numbers we're doing. All right, this is not me. This is not, I actually haven't even called a single I've only called live trades like on sessions this week. Wasn't even in the Telegram signal. So this is like the whole team providing ideas. Look at the stats here. Okay. 83% win rate, 89 trades, more than 8,000 pips. You can see the numbers. Okay. This is like already insane, the fact that you can get access to this for free. Right. And yeah, it's a lot of signals. I'm gonna be honest. It's a lot. Are you gonna miss some? For sure. But when the full automation comes out with what we're working on the back end, that is going to be probably single-handedly the most revolutionary thing, period, um, for the year. And so this is for gold. There's Bitcoin. There's indices ideas with this, and a lot of them are high quality, shorter term setups, right? And yeah, yeah. So this is, something that everybody has access to for free inside of Primeverse. You know what I mean? And it's pretty amazing, pretty amazing. I'm trying to see if there's a section where I can show you guys like what was traded the most. Obviously, it was gold, right? Gold is what we mainly focus on, but yeah, so that's also, available inside of Primeverse. So it's like when we get full automation where it's like you can, as a user, link an account to what will be called PrimeSync, and it's like all those ideas that you normally would have to manually execute are being executed and managed for you in accordance to how the signal provider who shared the idea in the first place is managing the trade. For example, they share a trade through the platform. boom, instantly executed at the time it was shared. So you're not getting a difference in entry, which is already a thing that people that take signals experience. Oh, my entry was 10, 20, 30 pips different from yours because gold moves so quickly. That's going to be eliminated. And it's like, you ever take a trade and it's like, oh, the person that shared the idea is telling you to go break even, but you weren't there to do it. So the trade that was supposed to be break even was an SL for you. It's going to be fully automated. So as soon as price moves to TP1, your stop loss is automatically going to be adjusted to break even. As soon as we hit TP2, you're automatically having your stop trail to TP1. Full automation, full autopilot. So you're capturing or capitalizing on all of these. It's not just the ones that you happen to be awake for or whatever. Like it is literally going to be the most game-changing, revolutionary thing I've ever seen in the industry, and it's free. Like there's no competition. I'm sorry, network marketing companies. I'm sorry, school, gurus. All right. And I have a lot of respect, and a lot of these guys are really good friends of mine. But just the way the industry is going, it's away from paid communities, it's away from trading network marketing is dead, let's be honest. And there's a reason I'm, here. I wouldn't have left my previous company to educate here if I didn't understand where things are going, right? Um, so, anyways, we'll just leave it there for now. We'll leave it there for now. And I would highly encourage everybody that's not already a part of Primeverse that's, seeing this on YouTube or seeing this on Zoom that registered for it to consider being a part of it, man. I know there are people that would do anything to be a part of Primeverse that literally can't for a couple reasons, based on location, where they're from, or, and they would like trade spots with you in a heartbeat. And there's just isn't the ability to, because they're from the US, for example, right? um, that's something that some people are experiencing right now, right? Because the community is being held together by the second most regulated broker in the industry, which doesn't operate in the States. PU Prime does not operate in the States. So there are people in the States that are like actively looking to, maybe get residence elsewhere just to be a part of the community. So if you're in a position where you can be, it's like, just because it's free, I think people take it for granted, but it's like this is probably going to be the most disruptive, free group and community of the entire year. Um, and what's free for everybody in terms of students and clients inside of Primeverse is obviously not free on the back end. Like the amount of money we're investing into tools and, you know, obviously I made this indicator pretty quickly and it didn't cost any money to do so, for me. But, it costs time, it costs energy, right? Which are, commodities that some would argue is more valuable than money, you know. Now, unfortunately, I had, an AI that was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, so it wasn't really that strenuous. It was actually really simple to make this indicator. I'm gonna be so honest. It was very simple. I went through, I think, 6 versions before I got to this one. And this was like, okay, this is a good base version to then build from. And that's why we're doing the whole beta inside the community, collecting feedback, taking into consideration feedback, and then, going to make changes to make it better. But I'm not personally in this cell, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. We're just observing price as it's printing. Technically, there's a 1 minute inversion. I, on Wednesday, was mentioning that my preference with this indicator is to execute on the 3 minute or 5 minute. Sometimes I'll take it on the 1 minute, but you will see inversions on the 1 minute very frequently. And for a higher quality setup that holds more weight, you want to look on higher time frames, right? So for me, if we were to get an inversion of this fair value gap, which you can see the indicators highlighting, then, I might consider taking sells, right? The 1 minute, you'll see an inversion before the 3 minute every single time, or sometimes at the same time, but usually it's going to be the leader because it's a smaller time frame. But for me, I like to usually execute off the 3 minute or 5 minute. It just holds a little bit more weight, So, so yeah. Um, let me see. Is there any questions, ladies and gentlemen, about Prime Verse? Any questions about the indicator? Anything that I can clear up for anybody that's maybe not a part of the community or just in general has questions before we wrap up the session? We jump on with Cohen for the collab. Yeah, let me know in the chat. Let me check out the YouTube chat. Is anybody here on YouTube? Okay, cool. Yeah, we got some folks on YouTube. Nice. Too fast move. Yeah, stopped out. Yeah, it's all good. Hey, that's why I was being so clear in saying that the shorts were higher risk. They did. I mean, hey, they to be fair, that was like a 100 pip move, you know, in 1 minute. Right. Minimum deposit for Prime Verse. Good question. So that is something that some folks will enforce. I think the standard is like $500 in a live account. Obviously there are certain people based on location or for other reasons that maybe can't do that, like literally can't do that. There, there's, it's loose. You know what I mean? So it's not like a super hard enforced, like if it's not 500, you're not getting access to the community. It's a free community for a reason. Like the whole point is to give access to people, right? The only thing is to have a live funded account. So that's really the bottom line. That's it. So there's not like an etched in stone minimum. I think the standard is 500. With PU Prime, there's a really nice deposit bonus with no strings attached, where you can literally get your first deposit matched up to $1,000. So if you're depositing 500 bucks, they give you a 100% deposit bonus. You're trading with 1,000 in floating equity. And it's not one of those bonuses that has like, fine print where it's like, oh, you got to make, I don't know. I've seen some stupid shit with bonuses on brokers. Excuse my French. But I remember seeing the binary option days. Okay. If you know, you know. Thank God we're over those days. No offense to anybody that still trades binary options, but there was a deposit bonus that was like in the fine print, you had to trade a certain volume before you could withdraw. And it was like absurd. I was like, dude, this isn't blackjack on a casino mobile app where you got to trade or play however many hands of volume to withdraw. This is a trading platform. Like, what is this BS? So I know sometimes bonuses, like people are like, oh, like I'm never taking a bonus ever, da da da, whatever. P Prime has the best bonus structure in trading, period. Okay. Unless, so far from what I've seen, maybe there's something better. But if it's better, it's probably still not as reliable or regulated as PU Prime, so it's not even worth it. But they, for your first deposit, match up to 100%. So you throw in 500 bucks, they'll match it. You'll be trading with, $1,000 in equity, no strings attached. Any profit you make, withdraw any moment you want to, no restrictions. So obviously, you can read the exact terms and details on the PU Prime website, but the ideal scene is like for somebody to be trading with PU Prime, you want to try and maximize that bonus just naturally because it's a one-time bonus and then it drops to 20% deposit bonus every one thereafter. So for me, like when I made my first PU Prime deposit, I did $1,000 because I was like, yo, I'm trying to max this out. I'm trying to max this puppy out. You know what I mean? If they did more than 1,000, I would have dropped 5 bands and getting the 100% deposit bonus. That's like, dude, trading with 10K from 5K would have been awesome, you know. But they do cap it at $1,000. So, but in terms of all that to say, in terms of the minimum deposit, I'd say the standard is like 500, but there's not like an official minimum, just because the whole purpose of the community is to provide access to everybody, and so the bottom line is just having a live account. That's really the bottom line. But other than that, you have access to everything inside of Primeverse. You've got live sessions. There's the trade alerts, which are now on Telegram being facilitated there. which are smacking. You've got Siphon AI, which is averaging, 3 to 5% a month, with, more than a 5-year track record, fully on autopilot. You've got the Zonar Smart Money Scanner, which we haven't shown on session today, but is pretty cool. Free access on TradingView. You got Oracle, the Trade Journal, which is really dope, really cool. I made a YouTube video about it. You can check it out if you want. And then, of course, the inverse fair value gap indicator that I just came out with, among other things. Got the lot size calculator. Like there's, all these things are accessible for free inside the community. And we're going to continue to roll out more and more, assets inside the community as time goes on as well. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna jump on to Cohen's session. Uh, Everybody that is, inside the Primeverse community, I encourage you guys to go in there and jump on Cohen's session as well. You can see it's now showing live, so you can jump on. We're gonna do a collab for the next couple of hours, and yeah, we're gonna see if we can clap back on gold. We got an initial move on gold, but ended up, being invalidated on the first setup. It's all good. It happens. I didn't quite get down to my area for buys yet. We'll see if this happens during New York session, and I'll still be looking for this, whether you decide to tune in with Cohen and I or not. But I would encourage you to. If you're in the Primeverse community, it would be great to see you guys on there for the first collab session on Primeverse, my first collab session on Primeverse. Maybe there's been some other ones. But but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're not in the community and you want to be, right? What I would say is this, right? Reach back out to whoever invited you to today's call. Maybe it was me, maybe it was somebody else. And just let them know, hey, I want the details to become a part of Primeverse and would love you to walk me through the process, the motions, you know. Very simple, very straightforward. It's not going to take very long for you to get set up with everything. So I'm sure they'll be happy to support you in getting set up. But yeah, with that being said, fam, much love. Have an amazing weekend. Happy Friday. Trade safe. Okay. Don't give back your profits to the market today just because it's NFP. All right. As I was mentioning earlier. But yeah, let's have an amazing rest of the trading day. I'll see you guys on Cohen's session. And with that being said, peace.